I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, minty NFT, from the bayous, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
Please join me in welcoming to the stage our moderator, Nelson Merchant, and the rest of the speakers for the panel.
Thank you everyone. We're very excited about this panel. We're going to talk everything about play to earn, and hopefully I learned some things about this panel. Great, so I'll introduce myself quickly and then we'll go with Sergei and keep going down. My name is Nelson. I run Lightno Media. Lightno Media is an advisory, marketing, and events company. We focus on helping mostly early stage crypto projects start, grow, and launch, and really help them from the beginning to their growth stage, and then obviously continuing forward. So we're very excited about the play to earn trend. It's very early, but we've seen some immense success and traction in it, and obviously interested in this panel and what we can learn in terms of where this trend is going and how to make it as sustainable as possible as it keeps growing.
That's great. Thank you for having me here. I'm Sergei. Cryptomeria Labs, we're a venture studio, so we are doing projects in gaming side, especially metaverse, like play to earn experience, and we are doing media, and we are famous for our metaverse posts, like the first fully focused on the metaverse agenda media. So please visit website and check news, and yeah, so.
Oh, thank you.
No, just go.
Hello. Oh, okay. Hey, my name is Dustin Lee. I'm from Evolution Land. It's a metaverse blockchain game with interoperability. We allow other projects to build into our game and interoperable their NFTs. We're heterogeneous by nature, utilizing Darwinia as our light client messaging protocol to utilize technology, the gamification for crypto and blockchain.
Nice. My name is Peter Ng. I'm from Blockchainspace, so I'm actually based in the Philippines, so in the heart of where play to earn actually kind of exploded. I'm in the intersection of Dustin and John here, connecting the players to gaming guilds. So I'm actually building the software to support all the gaming guilds as well as data analytics.
Yep, John Monahan with Splinterlands, and gave a talk up here just maybe a half hour ago. But we're a play to earn game, or I prefer to call it play and earn. But we've been around for about 4 years, and a collectible card game on chain.
Awesome. So I think we could start with a very broad question, which is what is play to earn gaming? If you guys could kind of give your own view of what that means.
Play to earn games, it's not when you play and you earn something. It's the space where people could create some value and other people could consume this value, entertainment value, I mean. So for me, it is like this.
Play to earn space, I would say it would be unbanking the unbanked and allowing for those who are not able to access traditional accessibility. Will be able to empower them and bringing those who are somewhat left behind into the future of Web3.
I'll take this from a social mobility standpoint. So being from the Philippines, I saw firsthand how powerful play to earn gaming can be as an onboarding tool into Web3, right? So you see that the first experience for people getting into crypto was actually through a game and not through a mobile wallet. So they didn't see MetaMask first. They saw a game on their phone, they earn 1,000 tokens, and then they want to know, okay, what can I do with these tokens? How do I cash it out, right? And that's how they learn about wallets and technologies, right? So I see play to earn as a huge onboarding tool for right now. I'd say developing markets are probably the most interested markets that make the most sense, right? So if you're earning $100 per month, where is that $100 relevant? Which countries? So is that relevant in Venezuela, countries in Africa, India, Philippines, and so on? So for me, play to earn gaming is actually a part of this NFT gaming space that is now empowering developing markets to come into Web3.
Yeah, and for us, I'll take it a slightly different direction, but it's an alignment of incentives. There's millions and millions and millions of people out there that have played video games for years, and Web3 has opened up the opportunity to actually own the assets within the game and to participate in the economy around the game. And so the ability to earn from a game, I think, adds a new layer of incentive, and I think that it's going to become very popular with the Web2 crowd once we get them all onboarded.
The last 2 years we've seen an immense explosion in play-to-earn space. What do you think created this explosion? What made it possible, and also what was necessary in order for this really to kind of happen?
Free money, People I want money, I want to play games, do nothing, and got some money. So to be honest, it's all about speculation. Like, come on, guys.
So again, I was in the Philippines where Axie exploded, right? So, so it all kind of like, it was perfect timing. There was a lot of like market factors that were just right for like the whole growth. Right, so I think it started with this one story where there was basically a Filipino player out in a rural area of the Philippines, and he was basically playing Axie around the clock, like 24/7 for a number of months. And so Axie actually investigated his account and was like, is this a bot, right? And they were thinking there's no way that one player could be playing so many hours, for how many weeks, right? And then when they investigated, they said, okay, show us proof, right? And so this guy sent back a video, and it was him in his house, and there was like his aunt, his grandma, his cousins. They were all sitting there, and then everyone was holding a mobile phone, playing Axie. And then they realized, okay, wait a minute, the people are really using this game to actually, play around the clock to be able to earn, right? And this is in the middle of COVID, and there was an article that one of my colleagues, Leah Callan-Butler, wrote for CoinDesk. She highlighted exactly that story where the guy basically had, created this, found that basically, he could invite his family and relatives basically to come and play this and earn more than the average wage, right? So back then it was around $250 per month is the average wage in the Philippines. This guy was making over $1,000 per month, and each one of those accounts was making over $1,000. So I definitely say there is definitely a financial incentive, right, to get involved, right? And of course that was at the peak of, like, just at the beginning of COVID. And so when COVID hit, a lot of people lost their jobs. They were all turning to kind of like, what are these alternatives? And that narrative basically got, amplified, right? So that kind of brought in like the masses of all the people in the Philippines. I think, the earning potential, kind of like identifies the markets where it makes sense. So, if it's $1,000 per month, you might not see a lot of people in developed markets, playing the game, because it probably doesn't make that much sense for them. They have to invest about 3-4 hours a day playing the game. But for markets where, $1,000 a month is, above average wage, and they have the time to spare, like for, gig economy workers, then I think it makes a lot of sense.
But I know a lot of people. Can you hear me? I know a lot of people in the US who are walking in their sneakers and stuff, and so it's about free money as well,
No, absolutely, it's definitely about. Yeah, there's definitely the money aspect, and I think, I guess you have some questions about the evolution of this as well.
Yeah, I think Hello. There we go. I think in developed markets too, you have a couple of other different things going on as well. For one, you have a justification of habits, right? So I have a gaming habit. I love playing games. It's my primary form of entertainment. Holy shit, I can make a little bit of money doing this too, right? So that's I think that's one justification. And then you also get people that are really interested in the gamification of their investments. So I think doing a little bit of gamification of investments is another piece that makes a lot of sense for at least a certain subset of our user base, right? And I think that user base is going to continue to grow as well.
Yeah, touching on the gamification is really utilizing the accessibility for a lot of these like crypto heads and kind of allowing them to utilize these NFTs that wouldn't in most cases be kind of like a PFP aspect. The utilization of these projects can be brought forward with pretty simple integration. The biggest factor is there's a lot of maximalists in the space per se. If they're specific crypto or gaming space, play to earn is fairly new, but in the crypto sense, of course, it's been out for a very long time. And in projects like even like Diablo, we just introduced having $100,000 worth of digital content to upgrade your characters. People can put this into the Web3 space and have forward compatibility and being interoperable, and utilizing these NFTs into future cases in other games and other metaverses to not be so segregated into one established space per se.
As we've seen with the current hype cycle that is really, I think, dying down because of the bear market, I think a lot of these play-to-earn games are becoming more focused on the actual sustainability as opposed to just riding the hype. So as you guys are leading these play-to-earn games, supporting them on the guild side as well, what are some of the variables that you've seen and identified that are very important to have a very to utilize that hype, to utilize that potential significant growth immediately, but also be able to have that more longer term sustainability, both on the token side, on the NFT side, and really for the user itself?
Community is a big piece of that, right? So community is massive. I think that people want to feel connected. They want to feel like they're in it together. So I think community is a massive component to the sustainability. But the entertainment value of the game has to be there as well. So the entertainment value has to be there independent of the earnings. So we're going to have a whole subset of the population that are going to get into these games to play the game itself. Not necessarily to earn. The earning can be nice, but I think the sustainability ties back to those two things 100%.
And I totally agree. Entertainment. Come on, let's make games I think 90% from blockchain games, it's blockchain games. It's at first blockchain. It's not interesting to play. Like how many people from this audience playing every day games like crypto games? I think not many of you. So, but every day I think you play some games on your computer or on your mobile phone, just gaming because it's interesting, it's cool. So let's make some games, let's make some entertainment. And this main message, don't think about talking, it's okay. You can think about economy, but at first, entertainment. People should like it. It's 2 billion people playing mobile games. Come on, let's got them right now. Listen, okay?
I'll come from a slightly different angle. So my focus is really on gaming guilds. At Blockchainspace, we managed to map out around 23,000 gaming guilds around the world. And the question is, you're probably all thinking, why is it such a large number? And the question is, how do you define a gaming guild? Right? And for us, we define it as anyone that has a community that has over 10 active accounts within an NFT game. Right. And what we saw is a lot of micro communities. So we go back to this community aspect again. What's happening now is a lot of people coming into Web3 through gaming as the door that brings them in, and now they have these crypto native communities that they basically all nurture, right? And a lot of these communities are actually quite small. We call them micro guilds. Their Discord size is typically around like 200 people within the Discord, and then only few players. But these guys are now not just playing games, but they are, investing into other NFTs, other token assets, and then teaching people basically how to use more Web3 native kind of applications. So I'm seeing these as like basically the Web3, micro Web3 communities that are basically ready to be engaged with, for more activities.
Peter, do you feel like entertainment value enhances a guild's sustainability in a particular game as well? Like, is the entertainment value still important to the guild, even if their primary focus is to make a living?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just like any other community, I think you need to have something that basically engages the community, keeps them there, and keeps them active. Right? I think games are going to be a very important part of that. I don't think it's going to be the only thing that keeps guilds active, but being able to kind of like incentivize certain actions within games, to be able to learn, and I think there is the learning aspect as well, right? Like you can learn how to, transfer assets from this to that and so on, right? I think that's kind of like where we're heading towards.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Most of my career I spent in education technology, right? And there's a lot of research that goes into the impact that gamification has on learning science. And so it's very well known that gamification of any process is going to make that information stickier, right? So it's a little bit easier to learn something if the process itself is gamified. What better way to do that than through gaming?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of where our focus is. We built up the underlying technology, and that's been the most, somewhat hurdle that we've had when it comes to connecting with, the fellow other blockchain space. But to us is that the interoperability and the underlying technology is most important to bringing forward to a multi-chain ecosystem. And so now that we can utilize our gamification to show the technology without having to know how it works, if it's sending tokens, if it's bridging assets in any sense, if it's NFTs, we don't have to technically teach that to the Web 2 space, but they can slowly learn it in a gamification. And then once they're adopted to that aspect, then it's easily accessible for them and they understand how it works. And that's the biggest thing for Web 2 to Web 3, I would say, for the transitional space, is that they don't understand how the underlying technology works. Or if a player per se plays a game to earn DLC content, then they can have that DLC content forever instead of just being locked into a certain game. They can utilize it into other games. You can have it forward compatible or composable NFTs. They're upgradable as you move on with the space, and you're not sandboxed into that particular blockchain or game itself.
I think one of the big questions that is related to that is, do you need to know how the underlying technology works, right? So this idea of frictionless crypto, I mean, if you're there as a gamer and you're there for the entertainment value, I think the games that can make that process completely frictionless are going to be among those that come out on top.
Yeah, totally. Like, and that's the thing is like it's usually visually appealing for most Web 2 game players, and it's totally understandable. But where we're at, we're finally getting to the point of accessing our technology to the maximum, so we can start building with Unity or Unreal, and utilizing chains that use that technology to be implemented in our game without having to understand it per se. So yeah, it's important for traditional gamers to have an easy onboarding access, so it's not so troubling and daunting for these players.
Community obviously is extremely important in these play-to-earn games, and it would be great to know what role guilds play in this specific community building, as well as the development that guilds have had, a very rapid development in really the last year. And I think one of the big takeaways that I'm seeing with a lot of these play-to-earn games is everybody was very bullish on getting guilds on board, but when you really look at the financial aspect of it, the way that guilds make money is by making as much money as possible by playing the game, which if you're looking at the sustainability of these games, that's very difficult for these games to be able to have their breakout moment. So how do you gauge, one, the development of these guilds, as they need to cater to these games to support the community, to economically allow the sustainability to be there, but also obviously have that profit margin? How does that impact, I think, the development of these guilds?
I want to hear John talk about it first.
I think balance is the key, right? So, I can tell our story a little bit. So we've been around for 4 years. We really didn't have any sort of dedicated focus or emphasis or even onboarding process for guilds until relatively recently, right? So we built a pretty large community organically, right? And very enthusiastic supporters, people that are in for the long haul. And, that was in place first. And so I think one of the side effects of that is that our economy could handle the impact of the guild coming in. I think one of the ironies of focusing too much on the economics and not enough on the entertainment value is that if everybody is only in the game to extract value from the game, then the economy is going to crash, right? So the entertainment value has to be there, and it's good to start with a really strong community. If you can successfully build a strong community, then that creates, honestly, the ideal environment for guilds to come in, because they can come in and they can extract value without crashing the economy. But then they can also learn that, hey, this game's fun, and we like playing this game. And so they're having fun doing their jobs as well. And you start entering in a scenario where, it's hard to see anybody losing. Everybody wins that way. So I think balance is the key. It's important. It goes right back to the community and the entertainment value. Those two things, if you have those two things in place, then I think a game can really sustain a large number of large guilds.
Yeah, so I'll add on to that. So I think guilds have definitely been portrayed as value extractors within the current game system. So, and I think that's, it's not incorrect, right? And probably the guild model itself should actually change a bit. So guilds actually add more value, back into the gaming ecosystem, right? Because you don't want to just extract value. I think, but the guilds are not doing something that they weren't supposed to. Actually, they're just bringing more gamers into the game, at a faster pace than like the games are ready to accommodate. So I mean, the games themselves have to be ready to kind of pull some levers to make sure the onboarding experience, isn't, affected or compromised by the speed of which guilds are actually bringing players in. And like you've seen it with, again, we'll go to Axie. No offense to Splinterlands, but the growth can be really fast. So we saw like Axie go from like 500 players to like 3 million players in the course of like a year, right? And that's the speed of that was insane, right? And I think there's something that the game itself, like Axie themselves, could have actually controlled in terms of like not onboarding too many value extractors and making sure that, because for their token, they were, the mechanics are you either earn or you spend in breeding, right, to create more characters. And then I think they weren't able to basically balance the two, right, as the number of players were coming in. And I think there's, it still needs to be tested, basically, whether you can actually kind of balance the economy by just taking on board the right number of people at the right time. But I also think that guilds are basically should be held accountable to kind of put more value back into the games, right? So that whether that's like, bringing more people into the game itself, like by making your guild larger, by by contributing kind of like community incentives or something to actually put a value back in. But also like you want to keep, the game itself wants to create incentives for people to stick within their ecosystem as well, so that they don't just, take out the tokens, extract value, and then leave and jump to the next game, and it becomes like a yield farming exercise. Right, so I think things like we were talking about composability of like assets. Like if you can upgrade assets, that become more valuable over time, right? That'll keep guilds within your system, right? Because let's say like the higher the asset has been leveled up, right? The higher the earning potential, or like the more added value you get, basically.
Yeah, projects like, or guilds like YGG, we've partnered with, they do bring a lot of incentivization for projects like ours. It brings a lot of eyes and attention to our space. I think it's a positive. There's some negative aspect in some sense, but overall, I believe it brings a lot more community awareness, and that's been the biggest vision and drive for most projects is keeping that economic loop in some sense, but also bringing a community driven behind these projects. Like, the market might have certain conditions, but these communities will stick around. They still have these assets, so there's no reason for them to be considered, a complete extractor of these projects, because in the end, they're going to be the ones that are incentivized to play the game. They're not going to just give up on the game immediately. Yes, there might be some downfall in these times where economically is not incentivized, but in the end, they will turn around and come back into focus and be able to get back in these projects. And mentioning composable NFTs, they can use these NFTs that they've earned or purchased on the market and be able to upgrade them in time and upgrade them, and they have a value to them, as in the sense of they can earn more higher potentials, and some of these NFTs are hard to get. There might be some type of success rate being able to produce these, like ours. There's an incentive kind of a loop to it, in the sense of there's a sink, like you might lose your resources or whatnot by producing these specific NFTs. And in the end, they becomes a rarity to aspect, if it's a collectible aspect, if it's incentivizing holding these particular NFTs because it has, whatever status or whatnot. It brings, these communities like YGG per se, to stick around and be able to add value instead of just extracting them. Yeah.
Great. I think we are done, but thank you everyone for your thoughts. I mean, this play to earn gaming, it's very exciting because there's a lot of experimentation that occurs in these hype cycles, and the ones that are able to survive, which is really, I think, the key in crypto, are the ones that are really going to change the game. So thank you guys for coming, for building, and for continuing to support the crypto ecosystem.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.